Hello everyone. Welcome to my video on redistricting. What you should have done already before you even started this video was to have completed this homework, or at least tried to, so I don't have to read it to you. You've already read this paragraph, and then there's some questions that follow, and they get gradually a little harder, and that's why I'm doing this video, which is to help you kind of figure out stuff, maybe if you have trouble further down. Okay. um, First question is, first of all, you have to know the definition of redistrict. It's the process of redrawing congressional district lines after a census. Now, the first question on this homework is, why did Maryland redistrict after the 2010 census? It'd be easy if the answer were, well, because Maryland gained or lost a representative because of reapportionment. But that didn't happen. Maryland still has 8 representatives like it has had for 30 or 40 or 50 years. So it didn't lose or gain a representative, but it still had to redistrict. And the question is, why? Well, the answer is in that paragraph. The answer is because the Supreme Court has said that each district has to have an equal number of people in it. And over 10 years, in between each census, people move around in Maryland, and after 10 years, one district that used to be equal to all the other districts isn't equal anymore. So after each census, even states like Maryland who haven't gained or lost representatives still have to redistrict to make sure all the lines make districts that are equal in population. So there you go, first question. Second question. Who or what controls the redistricting process? It says right there in the second line, or first line, state legislatures are in control of this process. Meaning, the legislature in Annapolis for Maryland decides what the lines are for the districts for Maryland's representatives in the House. Third question. Do county lines or municipal jurisdictions have anything to do with congressional district lines? At this point, I'm asking you to look at any of the maps that I've given you, either this one, or this one, or this one. Doesn't matter. The point is, there's 24 counties in Maryland. There's only 8 districts. And when they draw the lines, they don't have to pay any attention to where the counties are, where the cities are. They only have to pay attention to where people are. So these maps have nothing to do with county lines or anything like that. Usually the people who make the maps put in the county lines to help you kind of see where you are, what part of Maryland you're talking about, but that's not really important. When you redistrict and draw these 8 districts for Maryland, the only thing that matters is where are people, and you end up with 8 districts that are equal in population. So, answer number 3 is no. 4. Since all districts have approximately equal population, what do these maps tell you about the larger districts compared to the smaller districts? Okay, I wanted you to think about that, and if you think about it, pretty easy. A big district like District 6, way out here, has the same number of people as Little District 8. How can that be? Well, all I'm asking you to think about is how would you compare those two districts? Well, one's bigger, one's smaller, they have the same number of people, so what I'm hoping is that the words that pop into your head are these words. Smaller districts are probably urban districts with high population density. Did I say that right? The smaller districts are probably urban districts. The larger districts are probably rural districts with very low population density. And the kind of in-between size districts are probably some mix of suburban or the other two, but they're less dense than urban, more dense than rural. So if you have those words in mind, then it makes sense why some districts are smaller or larger than others, even though they all have the same number of people. Then I ask you to look at the table, the first table on this sheet, this table right here. And I ask you to kind of match up which districts back in the 1990s, which ones were Republican and which ones were Democrat, and in general, if you look and see which ones are Republicans and which ones are Democrats, in general, the larger districts, the more rural districts, like District 6 up here, and District 1 over here, District 2 up above north and northwest of Baltimore. The larger and more rural districts in Maryland tend to be Republican. The urban districts and suburban districts tend to be Democrat. An exception, if you look at this table, this table, look at District 8. Back in the 1990s, District 8, which is right there, basically Montgomery County, that district was represented by a Republican, Connie Morella. Was. And that leads us to the next few questions. Let's see. Look at the tables below. How many Maryland representatives, don't worry about the senators, were Republicans and Democrats in the 1990s, and the 2000s, and the 2010s? So, in the 1990s, in this table, there were 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats representing Maryland in the House. In this table, it shows that in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, there were 6 Democrats and only 2 Republicans. And finally, right now, this is Maryland's delegation right now, elected after the 2010 census, redistricting. Now there's only 1 Republican left and 7 Democrats. So my question is, so first of all, for number 6, you're supposed to notice that. For number 7, I'm asking you why. I'm telling you, Maryland did not go all of a sudden Democratic Party crazy. Maryland's still pretty much the same Maryland. So how come we went from 4 and 4 out of the 8 to 6 and 2, and then to now, which is 7 and 1? The answer, the word that you really should have popped into your head, is the word gerrymandering. Now, I'm going to try and do this really quick because I'm not used to doing this, and if I were the better film editor or whatever, I could probably do a much better job, but I'm going to just kind of race through this, and if you have any questions about it afterwards, you can come see me in class and ask to see the nice color charts. Unfortunately, I can't give you color charts because I can't afford to make this many color copies. But what I want you to notice, here you go. Remember I mentioned District 8 on this map. District 8 is right there. It's the easiest example, and it's kind of close to home because that's where I live. If you look at this map from the 1990s, this is what Maryland's districts looked like in the 1990s. District 8 was basically Montgomery County, with a few exceptions. After the 2000 census, this is the map that the Maryland State Legislature drew. Now, look what they did to District 8. smaller, they lopped off the northern part up there, and they added a little bitty tail right down here that crept into Prince George's County. So you can do this yourself because you have the papers in front of you, but I'll try and do it real quickly. Basically, this is the old map here. Basically, they took off the top part and they added a little bit of PG County down here. Well, why did they do that? Well, because the farther up in Montgomery County you go, God, I'm spastic, you get more rural, which means you get what kind of voters? More Republican voters. By taking those voters out of Montgomery, out of District 8, and adding in voters down here from a more urban or rural setting, where you're typically going to find more what kind of voters? Democratic voters. What did they do to the mix of voters in District 8? They removed Republican voters from up north. They added in Democratic voters from close into D.C. Well, what kind of district do you end up with? A much more Democratic district. What happened? What happened to Connie Morella, who used to represent District 8, a Republican, after they redistricted and changed her district? Well, she doesn't get elected anymore because all those Republican voters are taken out, more Democratic voters are put in. Now District 8 elects Democratic, a Democratic guy named Chris Van Hollen. It didn't stop there. The gerrymandering didn't stop there. After 2010, Maryland had to redistrict again. Well, who did they go after? I want you to take a look at okay, this map again. Keep your eye on District 8, and this time also look at District 6, way up at the top. Northern and Western Maryland. This is the map drawn after the 2000 census. Look at the map drawn after the 2010 census. What has happened? What has happened to District 6? Well, it goes way farther south, and in fact, they took a big chunk of Montgomery County, which has what kind of voters? Democratic voters, and added it to the rural what used to be a strictly rural district, District 6. What happens when you add all those Democratic voters into a district that didn't happen before? Also, look at this chunk right here. That used to be District 6. Those Republican voters were put into other districts, taken out of District 6 to compensate for all those Democratic voters that were stuck into District 6. Well, guess what happened? Look at this chart. What happened to the guy who used to represent District 6? Guy used to be a guy named Roscoe Bartlett. Is he there anymore? No. That District 6 now is mostly Democratic and will probably for several more elections continue to vote a Democrat into office, and Roscoe Bartlett is gone. The old Republican who used to he represented District 6 forever. Well, he's gone. It's called gerrymandering, and there's your lesson on redistricting and gerrymandering, and you also got a little extra about how Maryland has been gerrymandering for the last 20 years. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later. No more snow, please.